drawing straight line graphs is what we're going to look at in this video. It's split into 4 parts. We're going to start off by looking at examples like this here. So we've got given an equation and a table. We're going to complete the table and then draw a line graph. Then moving on, we are going to look at examples like this where we don't have a table. So we first got to start by drawing the table, getting the values, and then plotting them. And then we're going to move on to looking at examples like this where the equation is not in a standard form. So a standard form would be y is equal to something. And then moving on, we are going to look at examples where we've just been given a blank graph and we need to draw everything from scratch, including the axis. So the way my videos work, I'm going to do the example on the left, which is I do. You are then going to press pause and have a go at the example on the right, which is you do. So here we've been asked to complete the table and draw the graph. So first we're going to complete this table. So what this is saying is when x is minus 2, what is y? So we've been given an equation here. We've been told that x is minus 2. We're going to put that into x. We're going to substitute that into there. And when you substitute that into there, we can write that out. So y is equal to 2. And I'm going to substitute the x in plus 3, which becomes minus 4 plus 3. And that means the first value here is minus 1. Now you're going to go through the table and do that for all the values. So that's going to become minus 1, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And then once you've done that, you're just going to plot the graph. Now with plotting the graph, if I plot this first point here, x is minus 2, y is minus 1. So that point is going to be minus 2, minus 1. So that's going to be right there. Okay, that's minus 2, minus 1. So if I just zoom into this a little bit, just so we've got the table there as well, if I draw this on, that's my first point. So that's this one done. Now next we have minus 1, 1. That's there. So you have 0, 3. We have 1, 5. We have 2, 7. And we have 3, 9. And now if I just draw a straight line to connect all of these, that is how you complete a table and draw a graph of an equation. So hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at the example on the right. Now, when you do this example, you'd fill out the table first. And when you fill out the table, you will end up with minus 5, minus 2, 1, 4, 7, and 10. And then you would use that to plot the graph in a similar manner. So if I zoom in again, if I plot these points, so this first one here, x is minus 2, y is minus 5 would be there. Next one, minus 1, minus 2, then 0, 1, then 1, 4, 2, 7, and then 3, 10. And then if I just use a straight line with a ruler to connect this, that would give me a line that looks like that. So that is your answer there. So here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. I should have also mentioned I've linked the worksheet down below so you can print this off and follow along. So moving on now, what's different here is notice we've not been given a table. Okay, so we've been given a graph and an equation, but no table. Now you might be wondering, well, how do you draw the table? So the exact same thing, it'll be x and y. We're going to put in some values for x. Now, if you're wondering what values for x do I put, you look at the axis. That's the hint here, okay? If you look at the x-axis, which is this axis here, it starts at minus 2 and it goes to 3. So we're going to start at minus 2. We're going to go up by 1 each time. That is my table there. Okay, so that is how you draw the table. And now the next step's the exact same. You just substitute this value into there. That gives you minus 4 plus 2, and that just gives you 2 there. So if I bring that in, so that would be minus 4 plus 2, which gives you 2. And then the next one is minus 2 plus 6, which gives you 4. Then 6, and then 8, and then 10, and then 12. So that is your values there. And now we're just going to plot these the exact same way we did before. So we have minus 2 and 2. We have minus 1 and 4, 0 and 6, 1 and 8, 2 and 10. And then we have 3 and 12. And then we're just going to use a ruler and a straight line to connect all of these. And that is that. So hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at the example on the right. So step 1, you would draw the table. Now with the values of x, you would look at the x-axis. That's important here, okay? So if I look at these axes, they start at minus 4 and they go to 6 and they go up in 2 each time. So we're going to go up in 2 as well. So minus 4, minus 2, 0, 2, 4, and 6. So that is my table. And let me just put a bigger gap between that and that. And now when I look at this table and I put the values in, that's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 10. And then it's just a case of plotting this. So that would be minus 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 0 and 5, 2 and 7, 4 and 9. And then we have 6 and 11 is what that should say, not 10. And then if I use a straight line to connect that, I end up with something like that. So here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go again. I have linked this in the comments below so you can print this off and follow along. Here are the answers. Mark your work. So moving on, we have a table, a graph, and an equation. But notice this time, the equation is given in standard form, okay? Ideally, you want the equation as y is equal to something with the x on the right. Now, when you're not given that, you can rearrange this equation. If you know how to rearrange it, you can. Or what you can do is I like to start off with 0. So what happens when you put 0 into this equation? So if I put 0 into here, that just becomes 2 times 0. So that becomes 0. So we're saying that y minus 2x is equal to 3. So we're saying that y minus 0 is equal to 3. So y must be 3 here. Okay. And now with the next one, if I take the 1 and put it in there, we're saying that y minus 2 is equal to 3. So you know something minus 2 is 3. That something must be 5. And notice now, because it's a linear equation, you can see it's going up by 2 here. So it's going to go up by 2 again, and then 2 again. So it's going up by 2 each time this way. So this way it's going to be going down by 2, which becomes 1, and then down by 2 again, and that becomes minus 1. Okay, so I would always recommend starting with 0 and then doing 1, and then you know what the relationship is. So now if I take my pencil and plot this, that's there 0 and 1, 0 and 3, 1 and 5, 2 and 7, 3 and 9, and just take a straight line and plot that. There we go. It just clip on here, so can't draw it too straight. So that is that there. Now looking at the example on the right, the exact same principle. So the equations are not in a standard form. So I'll start off with 0 again, and if I look at 0, if I just zoom out a little bit, there we go. So if I start off by looking at 0, if I put 0 into x, that becomes 0. So we're saying 2 times y is equal to 6. So y must be 3. And now if I look at the next one, we have 2y plus 4 times 1, which is 4, is equal to 6. Well, we're saying, well, this must be 2, because if you add 2 to 4, you get 6. So what do you times by 2 to get 2? That'll just be 1. So you can see here, the relationship is it's going down by 2. So this means this is going to go down by 2, which means this is going to go down by 2. And then the opposite side is going to go up by 2. So that gives you 5, and then that gives you 7. And again, if you plot that, so we have minus 2 and 7. So that becomes minus 2 and 7 is there. And then we have minus 1 and 5. So that would be somewhere in the middle there. And then we have 0 and 3. And then we have 1 and 1. And then 2 and minus 1. And then we have 3 and minus 3, which would be there. And then again, we're just going to use a straight line to connect all of that. And that gives us something like that. So again, here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. Mark your work. Now, moving on. So now we've just been given a blank graph, but we've been told to plot the values of x from minus 2 to 2. So again, we're going to draw the table. So we have x, we have y. We've been told we need to go from minus 2 to 2. So we have minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2. And in fact, just to save us a bit of time, I'm just going to copy this to the other side as well. So if I duplicate that, I can put that there. So it saves me a bit of time when I get to that side. So with this, again, substitute the values in. So that will give us minus 6 plus 2, which is minus 4, minus 1, 2, 5, and 8. And now it's just a case of plotting it. So firstly, if I draw on my x-axis, that's my x-axis. I'll put 0 in the middle. Now it's going to go from minus 2 to 2. Now I would always recommend going up by 1 and seeing if it fits on the scale. So if I go up by 1, 1, 2, 3. And on the other side, we can go minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. Now that fits on the scale. Now, had this gone up from 0 to, say, 8, I would have had to go up by 2s each time. So this would have been minus 2, minus 4, minus 6, minus 8 to fit it on, okay? So what you go up on all depends on how big the graph you have and how much you can fit on. So if I draw on the y-axis, that would be like this. Now, the y-axis, we are going up to 8. Now, notice if I'm trying to go up by 1, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, that doesn't quite work because I need to go up to 8. So I can go up in 2s instead. So that would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So always look at the biggest value and the smallest value. And then I have to do the same down here. You have to use the exact same scale that you've used at the top and the bottom. If you're going up by 2s in the y-axis, you have to go down by 2 as well, okay? You can't change going downwards. So now if I just plot this, that will be the first point is that one there, minus 2, minus 4, right there. Minus 1, minus 1, 0 and 2, 1 and 5, 2 and 8. And if I just connect that together, there we go, that looks like that. So hopefully you have pressed pause and had a go at the example on the right. So first thing you would have done is fill out the table. So that's going to give us minus 4 plus 6, which gives you 2, and then 4, 6, 8, 10. Again, in terms of plotting it, I am just going to save me a bit of time, and I'll just copy this and paste it here. And all I need to do is, does it still fit? Is a good question to ask. So if I can just, okay, that's fine. So does it work on the x-axis? Yep. Does it work on the y-axis? It goes up to 10. Yep, that works as well. So those are the two questions you really have for yourself when drawing the axis. Is what's the biggest value? Well, the biggest value is 10. Does that fit? Yes, it does. So what do we have? Minus 2 and 2, minus 1 and 4, 0 and 6, 1 and 8, and 2 and 10, and a straight line through to connect that together. So again, here's some practice questions. Press pause and we'll go. Here are the answers. Mark your work. Now, if you would like some more practice on this, I've got a full worksheet link down in the comments below. Do check it out. And if you found this video useful, I've got loads of other content like this on my channel.